Guys, no messing about on the intro. You know what we're here for. Here we are in Flight Sim 2020. It's 4K. Streaming at 60 frames a second live. We'll see if the PC can keep up with it. We're on the ground here in Inverness, and I've got barely 0 subscribers on this particular channel, but that's okay. People can drop in and out as they see fit. And for anyone watching after the fact, it is a bit of a random mish-up is this channel. I use it generally either to test stuff or just to have a bit of a chill out, including the occasional Forged Alliance stream. It's basically for me to blow a bit of steam off. So, yeah, don't expect anything too amazing. But before I talk myself down too much, let's go ahead, see if I can remember how to get inside this thing. Yeah, so in the Fenix A320, the Airbus, and we're going to get started. So what you see here is kind of how it is. Now, one thing I can tell you right off the bat, when I'm turning my head in track AI in this game, it's far less smooth than say just flying in a straight line and not moving your head. Yeah, so there is that. In any case, let's start booting things up. One, two, three. And for those that just want to verify that the settings are maxed out, let me just come over here and show you. 3840 by 2160, so there's your 4K. And global rendering quality is ultra, so that impacts all of these. AMD fidelity, FX sharpening default is 100. I don't see any need to increase that when we're at 4K. Importantly here, I've got my Nvidia DLSS set to balance, so that's going to move the quality overall up and down as it sees fit to give us a balanced effect. Clearly, I could favor performance or detail on that slider, and so I prefer it at least for now to give me the balanced setting, because of course it's going to increase quality as it sees fit. If the frame rate drops any lower than what we're seeing here, then I'm quite happy for it to reduce the settings. But you can see that the overall stuff there was set to ultra, so we'll see how we go with this. And if I don't see chat, I apologize. I'm not sure if it's set up correctly on this particular stream. Come on, trying to get that one turned on. Let me just move my camera over. Yeah, so if you're using the arrow keys to move your camera, it seems to be, like I say, far better than using the track AI. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about. Let's get that armrest out the way. And coming upstairs, let's finish up here. So cruise supply on, evac to captain only, get the tape recorder rolling, nav lights on, arm the emergency lights, and smoking signs can come on. Brighten this up because it is darkening down now, and I think upstairs that's everything done. Don't worry, I will stop spinning my head around once we're up in the air. Flight plan, I have got one in, but it's just going to be more of a sightseeing thing. It's pointless me climbing up to 30,000 feet and then doing the stream because we're just going to see clouds. So I'm going to fly at a height where we can see detail, and that was actually as part of my plan. Speaking of which, and I'll do my best to try to show that in a minute. Data in it. So if you are watching this after the fact, I mean, it's gone up as a live stream. You'll be able to see that anyway. But and for those that are watching in real time, if you can stream it in at 4K, that's where it's at. Just make up a flight number. We'll have a cost index of 35. I don't see why we should limit that. Going to be cruising at 7,000 feet as we've discussed, and we'll load in the winds. Okay, there they go. Alright, let's clear out these notifications. That's fine. And so flight plan, that should already be programmed in, and it is. Now, usually, you know, I try and do these things a little more properly, but this is more about the graphics and the stream. So I'm just going to speed through some of these things here. Taking off runway 23 right, and so that's about what it matters there. Seems that they're only using one runway there anyways. Doesn't look like there is a SID from this particular departure, but that's fine. We'll navigate our way out. Let me just check that we haven't been given the short runway here by accident, because sometimes SimBrief has a nasty habit of giving... Yeah, okay, so I definitely didn't want to be trying to take off on this 2,000 foot runway. Right, runway 23, that's going to be quite a long taxi. So you know what, I'm going to switch that over to 05. Unless the winds are specifically, or particularly insane rather, I see no reason why we don't shoot out runway 5. Let's have a little look on the charts actually. What was we expecting with regards to winds? Sometimes this is really frustrating when it doesn't work properly, but in any case, winds 05. Okay, they're only at 3 knots, so I'm not going to worry about that at all. We can take off with a 3-knot tailwind. So runway 5, no particular SID, because our first stop is going to be over on the other side of Scotland, just to have a look at the scenery over there. There's a bunch of nice scenery that I wanted to check out. And then, again, it was a completely custom flight plan was this. I just zoom in for the purposes of giving ourselves a departure. And so I'm just going to put a custom waypoint in there. Let me just pause the track IR there 1 sec. Alright, Rymol. We'll go to the north. 360 for 5 miles, that will be fine. And then we'll continue on to these one of these waypoints here. What we got, 40 LOK. I'm not sure if that waypoint is going to accept, but we'll try it. No. There's far too many waypoints there. That's okay. We'll just go custom from that point on. So I'll clear out the discontinuity. There we go. That'll do. At least it's tied up somewhat. I get it's a bit jaggedy, but we'll make it work. All right, radios, we'll leave all of that on automatic. Looking very blank is that. Never mind, we'll make it work. All right, so the init page 2, let's grab the weights. So we got a message from company yet? Apparently not. No messages, that's fine. Okay, let me get my track IR back on. We'll just use the weights that we've been given on here. Seeing as we don't got a load sheet. So 0 fuel weights. Hang on, we need to load the aircraft. I'm just going to do instantaneous so we're not waiting for this. Now we'll have the load sheet, but in any case, I'm going to use these numbers. So 131.8 if we round that off. With a 0 fuel CG of 29%. And we'll be blocking off today with 18.4. All the weights are going to be in pounds. Performance page, and then we should be ready to start. How are we doing with regards? iOS, another 2 minutes. Well, that's okay. We can get the APU booting. We just sharp pod it on the bus. Get the signs on. And 3, 2, 1. There we go. Alright, takeoff performance numbers, bearing in mind we have switched runways, but that's fine. 05, conditions are dry. I'm going to leave the packs on if possible. Let's grab the final load sheet. We'll grab the latest weather conditions. We'll run those numbers. And Reject speed 25, rotating 46. And if we lose an engine, we continue to climb at 46. We'll have 0 shift, and it's going to be a flaps 1 departure with a trim of up 0.1. That's in there, and we're flexing. Saying no flex. Interesting. I would think flight sim engines are a bit overpowered without flex, but you know what? That's what it says to do. I best go along with it just in case. My APU is booted up and available, and looks like IRSs are coming on at the same time, which is handy. So we'll put the APU bleed on, and we'll just give it a couple of seconds. 3, 2, 1, and we'll disconnect ground power. There we go. All right, let's get her started up then. I will just grab the what was the ATIS there, QNH 1000. I'm not going to run with failures, so again, not wasting time with secondary flight plans and so on. I will set to the arc on that. 40 miles airport nav with the terrain on your side. And brighten up the display. There we go. I would have weather on mine, of course. For whatever reason in the Fenix, weather radar doesn't work in Flight Sim 2020. It is what it is. Ground surface services, let's get rid of these. There we go. Right, takeoff for this should be relatively straightforward. Runway 05, so it's just a straight shot down here. Alright. Beacon on. APU bleeds are already on. Check the doors are closed. They're closing now. We've seen the slides are becoming armed, and that's ready to go. Engines start on then. Let's fly 3472 in the squawk, just to make that one up there. Out reporting off. We'll turn it on overall, and let's boot up number 2. I really need to figure out a way to save my camera to a more suitable spot inside the cabin. In any case. You can hear the pump booting up there as the engine cranked. Alright, and with that one up and running, let's start number 1 as well. It's going to be a very short taxi today. 146, all of that's automatic. There we go, avail on 2. We'll already get the predictive wind shear on. Alright. Parking brake off. Don't know what the flap handle was doing down there. Flaps 1 is what we want. Arm the spoilers. Both engines are up and running. Not yet seen the avail. Yeah, let's go ahead. Runway turn-offs. Nose light on. And landing lights. We'll not turn them on, but we'll swing them out into position. And we hear the packs return as that engine becomes available. We'll turn the start switch off. Quick flight controls check. Make sure I've got my joystick plugged in correctly and all of that good business. Alright, flight control checks complete. Let's get rid of the APU. And let's make a start. going to have to ignore this guy here because he's kind of in the way. And yeah, as soon as we're on runway, I think I'm going to disable my track IR because it's kind of nauseating to watch, and it's, for whatever reason, there's this, the outside is smooth if I don't move my head, and as soon as I move my head, there's this weird sort of choppy artifact as I'm side to side. I'm sure if I lower my settings, I could do away with that, but it seems like I'd like to see him deal with that issue. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Maybe somebody who knows a little bit more about these things may be able to chime in there. All right, auto brake max, and let's get the takeoff config check. That all passes out, and we're about to roll onto the runway. We'll get strobes on. I've got real world traffic on. That is it. I'll put the wing lights on as well. So anyway, any aircraft that we see are not players or AI, they're just traffic that's actually there at the real time, synthesized into the game. We'll get the TCAS on. Alright, 3, 2, 1, let's get rid of track IR about there. Alright, let's go. Start the clock, wind them up. Engine's stable. Where are we? Toga, yeah, it was Toga. No flex today, my bad. 80 knots. I'll just turn that down a tiny bit, guys. Alright, V1. Rotate. Oh yeah, it was quite a short runway. Do see why we needed Toga. It was all good. Wheels up. Let's have a little look from the outside. Very nice. We'll have another look once we're out of this critical phase of fight. Alright, thrust back to climb. And we got this crazy turn that we prescribed for ourselves. I'll see if I can make it work. I don't know what the flight director wants me over to the right for. It's a left-hand turn. Got to ignore that aspect of it for now. And we'll keep we'll keep flaps on until we've done the turn. I'm going to turn track IR on just for a little bit so we can have a little look around a little easier while I'm flying. Again, we're only climbing to 7,000 feet on this flight so that we can enjoy some of the scenery on the way. If it does get a little too dark in a bit, I'll have to wind the clock back a bit as well. But for now, it'd be nice to see a sunset in real time. QNH over to standard already. None of this 18,000 foot business like those in the US. Does actually, I gotta say, I'll see both sides to that argument. You know, 18,000 foot, get it out the way nice and early. 3,000 feet. Yeah, maybe a little low, but potentially you've got to be changing QNHs. You know, if you're down from 18,000, you could be passing through a few different areas. All right, flaps in. The TCAS on standby. I was almost sure I turned that one on, did I? Oh, I turned the out reporting switch off, my bad. There we go. Alright, push the range out a bit, my side. Continuing the climb now. I'm not going to stay at 250 despite being below 10,000 because it'd make for a very long flight. We'll be able to see a bit more once the climb is finished. We've got about 1,000 feet to go. Going to start softening that vertical speed now. One thing that's very noticeable, I used to play on 2K or 1440 all the time versus 4K, is the clarity of the smaller text. And this is going to seem obvious, but I'm just pointing out that that to me is like a huge noticeable difference right off the bat. Outside, I would say the clouds seem a little crisper, perhaps the definition. The scenery just generally, at least from what I'm seeing right now, seems kind of similar. Let's get the autopilot hooked in. There we go, and I can play around with the camera a little bit. So if we raise our seat up, yeah, it's going to depend a little bit on how detailed the area is, generally speaking, which is why I'm heading over to a higher area of detail right now. Getting a couple of little stutters in there. I'm not sure if that's while scenery's being loaded in. Don't forget, I'm also playing, as far as the UK goes, it's coming towards 5 PM now, so as more people get online, even though I've got 1,000 megabit fiber to the property, it's still, you don't get the full speed once it's, prime time. Let's get rid of that distraction. Beautiful sun reflection in the water there. I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if we're going to see it again with this one. It's a little bit, there we go. A little bit of a reflection, not quite as pronounced as previously. But yeah, it's that sort of time of day where the sky's still bright, but if you look up against the sun, it's hard to see the terrain. I mean, if we look downwind, I imagine it'll be clearer. Well, it would be if the clouds were in the way to the same extent. And for those wondering, I don't have any mods or add-on. Let me rephrase that. I don't have any mods or add-ons for Flight Sim 2020 apart from the Fenix A320 that we're flying in right now. That is it. And so what you're seeing is just the core game cranked up to full. I got the free, the scenery add-on updates for the different parts of the world that they do. That's a given, is that. I don't see why anybody wouldn't choose to get those. Alright, so managed speed, it's going to take us along at 250 because we're below 10. So I'm going to override that myself. And just to help, I'm not sure how much difference these make with drag, if any. I don't know if they've thought about it, but I'm going to turn it off regardless. We'll get rid of that and that. We'll keep the wing lights on. We'll release the cabin crew. And we'll go to about 3. We'll go to 310 to begin with. We'll see how that goes. That's going to lower our angle of attack a bit as well, so we'll be able to see a little bit more out the cockpit. Let's push that out even further. Let's say though, the frame rates, without seeing a counter, I'm sure there's a setting to display that, but I don't want to ruin the immersion right now, but you can see what it is. What you're seeing is what I'm seeing. I mean, it's live stream. I assume so. It seems completely smooth for me as I move there side to side. It's completely smooth. I mean, if it's not 60 frames a second, it's very close. It's certainly above 40. I know some people say that the eyes can't tell the difference beyond 30 some or whatever. Yeah, they can. You're looking at 30 frames a second and you're doing something like this, or versus 60. It's very obviously a difference. If you're just going in a straight line like this and it's 30 or 60, then yeah, it's going to be harder to notice. That's a given. And it does seem like we can increase speed a little more. Again, we are still quite low down, so we're going to have a higher indicated airspeed because of it. And I'll stop going on for a bit and let you guys take in some of the sights. Just clear out this message from company, probably related to the load sheet. Like, using an FMC from over here is much easier as well, because the text is just, you know, you can read it now from across the cockpit. Absolutely gorgeous, man. I mean, it's getting to the point where under certain circumstances it's getting a little difficult to tell the difference between game and real. I mean, the clouds here are second to none. Got this weird little bit of icing that looks like it's beginning to form. I mean, this cloud, yeah, it's incredible, is that? So this was the, I was going to call it a valley, but it's looks like it's the valley has turned into a lock. This was the one I was wanting to proceed down, and not necessarily going to see too much from up here due to the weather. So I may descend down just so that we can have a little look at this area here. This first waypoint is about 50 miles away, just under 60 perhaps, but let's descend down to 4 then. It's absolutely gorgeous, is that? Like, regardless of what you think about the cost of the graphics cards or me banging on or this aircraft or how, let's be honest, crappy the realism is in Flight Sim 2020. I mean, let's face it. If we ignore the graphics and the sounds, the realism in this game is atrocious. But ignoring those, this game is, graphics-wise, is beautiful. I mean, the way they've done the clouds and the lighting, the weather, the times of day, it's second to none. It really is. I know some people get very entrenched in their specific flight sim genre, and whichever one it is that they play, they only want to hear good things about it, and all the others are always naff. Now, sorry guys, but different ones have strengths and weaknesses, and if you can't be honest about that, then you may as well log off and go and tune into your favourite echo chamber. Little bit of turbulence as we come on and in over the terrain there. Quite a strong wind out from the southeast. trying to descend through these clouds. Still quite a low set of clouds. I'm going to ignore all of these cautions with regards to the... Clearly you don't want pilots flying like this normally. Alright, so if I have a little look on our... is it on...
terrain ahead. Terrain ahead.
Yeah, so I'm wanting to be slightly to the right up. Here.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
So we'll make our way on over to
terrain ahead.
280.
Terrain ahead. Pull up. Terrain ahead.
You'll have to forgive the jip whiz for this
terrain ahead.
Specific area. Up. It is what it is. At least we know it's working. I wonder if I can turn it down.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Maybe not.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Let's see if I can clear it out here.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
We'll see if that was the last call. I'll take over for a bit. It's a little bit persistent, that altitude horn, must admit. So I do have highest data setting for my flight sim. Oh, nice bit of turbulence there. But again, during hours like this, wow, that turbulence feels amazing. The way that was just bumping like that was really good. I know that's not to do with the graphics card, but just there, the way that they've done that, I know I give this game so much stick with regards to its realism, but the way those bumps were there near the terrain was fantastic, like really, really good. Wow, that's incredible. Come on, give me 5,000 so you'll shut up. There we go. Alright, with the threat over, let's re-engage the autopilot. I guess the only really threat was the way I was flying it. So yeah, this is the thing, if I don't move my head in Track AR, completely smooth. For those of you that don't use Track AR for these type of games, I completely agree with not using it, simply because, not just because of the weird way it does that choppiness when you turn your head, but makes people sick. And when I'm doing my explain stuff ordinarily, I just use fixed views and don't use Track AR at all. Certainly don't use VR for this kind of thing. It's well, you can't really share VR. I mean, you can, but it's worse than Track AR. I'll just straighten up my view there. Yeah, so here we are. So left turn now down this lock. I'll just use my arrow keys to move myself around the cockpit. See, I don't know why, like, moving your view this way is completely smooth, but turning your head in Track AR not. I'm not sure what the difference is there. So even autopilot's struggling a little bit to keep it on the right altitude. As these lumps and bumps come and go. Yeah, so we should see some of the scenery around here if I can keep my eyes peeled. Even zooming in looks good. That used to be a real killer of anything on Flight Sim. If you zoomed in, it's like the detail would drop off a cliff. But I don't know if that's come with the latest update or if it's to do with streaming at 4K. But zooming in now, the detail takes a lot longer to drop off. I mean, that's as far zoomed in with my mouse wheel. To give you an idea of the difference it's making. That's zoomed out as far as it'll go. So if there's a specific part of anything you'd like to see, do just drop it in. Oh, where there's a bunch of people doing a similar kind of thing. But everyone's going to be in different parts of the world with things slightly different. Again, this, for me, is mind-blowing. Whoa, what's just happened there? Why have my flaps just gone to full? I'll tell you what. There was... While we wait, there are certain things about this. All that I did was tab out and back in, and that's what's happened. There's certain... There's just little quirks to this aircraft. I'm not sure exactly where they've come from. They didn't always used to be like this. I'll just get my track IR back on for a sec. Get a left-hand turn going here. And I'm not sure... I'm just not sure what's gone so wrong for it. Again, it's why we have different flight sims, isn't it? You know, different ones, different strengths here and there. But yeah, I gotta say, you know, complete honesty, absolutely blown away. I mean, I shouldn't even have to qualify it with saying complete honesty. But clearly my channel is, well, this one is microscopic. There's nothing here. The thoughts are genuinely my own. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, if big channels are saying it's absolutely incredible, I can say they're being honest. It is absolutely incredible. I mean, whether they're paid to tell you it's incredible or not, it is absolutely incredible. I had the 3080 before this, and with the latest updates, I mean, even that was good in Flight Sim 2020, but to be able to live stream at 4K with everything maxed out with these kind of settings is absolutely incredible. There's no other word for it.
$2,500.
I think we may have to climb upstairs shortly because the looks like the weather on this part of the country is a little bit soup-like. In fact, if we come over here, let's have a little look at the route, generally speaking. So there we go, that's our route there in a nutshell. Tell you what, that wasn't smooth, was it, dragging that one around? I'm just absolutely blown away by it. Like, I do not understand how this is possible. At all. I imagine YouTube has had to do a bunch of upgrading with all these new people that's going to be knocking out 4K streams all of a sudden that weren't previously. Or just 4K videos generally. I mean, I know some were, but it was certainly in the minority. Go ahead and open climb up to 10,000. GPWiz is off. I should perhaps re-enable this now. Absolutely blown away. Message from company now, don't know in where are you, why are you going, of course, what's up? Well, 9,000 still looks like we're in the soup, so we'll keep the climb going. We'll knock the speed back to 320. That's going to assist with our rate of climb for a bit. Just want to double check on the weather radar, but I don't think it is working. Let's turn it on my side. It's certainly indicated that it's on with the tilt there, but if I set the tilt to 0, it still says +1 and there's just a blank screen, so yeah, it's still not been fixed. Never mind. Keep the terrain on instead. I mean, I'm doing this for myself as much as the stream, just to see, is it possible? What does it look like? So I don't just want to be staring at clouds either. We're certainly in the thick of it. Let's keep that going. I'll just pull that plug to let the FMC know that we do got a new height, set managed speed. Yeah, there we go. It's now aware that we're climbing to flight level 200. So we're heading south along, currently now on the west coast of Scotland. We did take off on the east coast. Take a look at nearby airports. Where are we there? EGPK, so if memory serves, that's Prestwick. Up there, about 20 miles ahead of us. Still in the soup, man. It's getting to the point I'm thinking, what about icing? Well, static air minus 13. I think it's gotta be. I'm not sure how much that is simulated on this flight sim in this particular aircraft, but better safe than sorry. Clouds far thicker than I thought. Let's really expedite this climb. 300 open climb. Starting to get dingy now. Make sure I've got the lighting set up how I like. We'll get those on a little bit. Turn that one on, dim it down some. Console light there. Gotta say, in terms of lighting, this aircraft on this flight sim, probably one of the best, if not the best. It's certainly up there. There are a few that do a very good job, but this is right up there with them. Again, it's the strength of flight sim, the ability of the graphics and the lighting, the shading, just the way it does it. Well, it sounds like we're out the soup. Certainly we're above the rain, but we're still in the thick of it. Well, one final trick up my sleeve then. Let's go for 30,000 and hit expedite. I'm sure we can dive underneath the clouds again, but this is going to knock all our speed off. I just want to see if there actually is a top to these clouds. I myself, as you know, I've flown, I don't want to put an exact number on it, but probably about 200 times in my entire life. And I don't think I've ever seen, or been through, should I say, clouds that have been from top to bottom this thick. That isn't to say they don't exist. I've just never seen it. Certainly been in clouds that are maybe 10,000 feet top to bottom, but this has started off, what, about a couple of thousand feet off the ground, less if you were looking at the hills, and we're still in it at 24,000. The same, seemingly the same cloud. A little bit of light there poking through. Didn't see the sun, but hopefully it's a sign we're getting near the top. And finally, a little bit of blue. We're going to have no speed left once we're there. So it's going to climb at green dot speed for angle of climb once rate of climb has subsided. But I do get the impression we're nearly there now. We're up at 26,000, which is ridiculous. So let's get rid of this expedited climb. We'll go for 240. There we go. Still not out the soup. Feels like we're nearly... I've got a feeling that even at 30,000 we're not going to be there. We're not going to see much from up there with regards to terrain. So I think, having climbed all that way, let's dump ourselves down to, I don't know, let's be safe for a start and go 7,000. And we can wind. It's open descent. And the engines are winding back, but very slowly. We'll pick up the pace. Let's have a little look. Prestwick. Well, we're 10 miles away from Prestwick. Let's have a look. Low. Zoom in a bit, and we can see on here MSA for the area is 4,100. So we can safely descend down to that. So I'll put 5 in. Hopefully we can see something down there. Got the terrain back on any case. Alright, I think I may now go to direct their Dean's Cross. And we'll start freestyling it a bit once we see the terrain again. Got a nice little rate of descent going here. Taking a long time to accelerate up to what I've asked for here on open descent. Like, I'm sure I put it in like at least 60 seconds ago, and we've still got a ways to go. In fact, I think I'm going to help it out. I don't mind riding that barber pole. It's a bit different when you're inside the aircraft and everything starts shaking and shuddering as you get towards it. I mean, it's not so much like that in the airlines, but some of the smaller ones, it does start shaking and shuddering. It does kind of dissuade you from doing it anyway. Look at that, some nice... let's just see if I can get a bit closer to the cockpit for you, the window, if I just... But to me that looks like there's sunlight directly shining on the clouds, but I'm not entirely sure where that sunlight is coming from, because as we've just seen, the overcast extended up to like 30,000 and even beyond. Whereas this looks like the sun is right behind us shining through, so even with things maxed out, although it may look nice, and it does, there is no sun behind us. It's an overcast sky, so this, what you're seeing here, is false. It's a mistake. It should all be in shade. But it does look nice. And that gap looks really tempting to fly through, and I'm going to do it. I do wonder why... oh yeah, we're in open climb. Alright, so let's just punch that in. But let's get rid of the flight directors for a moment. Whoops, not landing system. Flight directors. And auto throttle can keep us at 340. I'm going to put bird on as well, just because there does seem to be a little bit of a crosswind going there. Let's raise our seat up once more. So this is where, in my opinion, Flight Sim 2020 transitions between looking incredible and cartoonish. Like, in my opinion, some of these clouds here look a little bit cartoonish to me. There's, don't get me wrong, it looks nice, and if you were doing a surreal painting of a sky, it would be a nice painting. But in terms of looking realistic, unless there was a volcano going off underneath us, or maybe Ben Nevis has blown its top without me knowing, but short of that, again, I've got no shaders or anything like that. It's just out the box. And again, the aircraft here, all real traffic. That's it. So this, whoever this guy is here, is really there in real life at this moment in time. We'll reset our position in the cockpit. Where's he gone? Just went behind that window frame. This has completely disappeared as he passed behind the window frame. Auto throttle doing quite a good job of maintaining the high speed that we're asking. So I'm going to turn around, a bit of cloud surfing over this hill, and we'll carry on descending. Yeah, I'm blown away by how well this behaves, like completely blown away. Like, I guess I shouldn't have even entitled the stream "Can It Handle It?" because clearly other people have been showing for days that it can. I hadn't seen those. I mean, I've been messing around with it myself in different ways, and I guess people already know the answer to that question. Certainly new to me. This right now looks a little more believable again. It's incredible. Down we go. I mean, it's enough that you can play the game at 4K maxed out, but then to be live streaming it at 4K and it still doesn't seem to have any impact at all. I've noticed that with this one, like whether you're streaming or not, I think it's a separate part of the graphics card. Again, I'm by no means any technical experts, so there might be somebody thinking, well, duh, I mean, that's obvious, but not to me. But with regards to a layman speaking, I would say it's as if there is a separate part within the graphics card that is dealing with the streaming side of things. So whether you've got OBS running and you're streaming or not, it seems to not make any difference with regards to what you experience. Well, it puts out more heat, but you can see a bit of immersion breaking there as the clouds are changing right in front of us in a weird kind of a way. There looks to be some curtains here. I'm guessing this is supposed to be rain ahead of us. I'm not sure why it's coming from above the clouds, but once again, yeah, whatever it is that's going on. I'll just keep my side on in case I need to turn it off. Be a bit easier to do it that way. This looks gorgeous again. This nice little bit of golden lighting, golden hour. I mean, again, even, you know, it's fun to me doing this, seeing it for the first time. If I was streaming or not, I'd be doing the same thing, having a little look round it. I just don't understand how it's able to do it like this. I just don't get it. It is absolutely incredible. Certainly the weather has improved as we've gotten away from the northern tip of Scotland. And I don't think we're going to need to descend all the way down to 4. I think we'll take 6,000. I'll reactivate the autopilot. Bit of speed protection coming in there, that's fine. I will wind that up to 330. Yeah, I think this is about the right height. Let's give it 6.5. And yeah, now we're really starting to see some of the more higher detailed parts of the country. To me, being able to zoom in and not losing the detail that you do when you're playing at 2K, that is alone worth going to 4K if, you know, assuming the hardware can take it. I'd never played this at 4K before because there was just no point on my previous setup, and it's, you know, that to me stands out like massively. I always thought the wind farms look a little bit naff in this game. I mean, all the blades are in sync, and it's just not like that in real life. And they seem a little bit too bright. I mean, I know they're painted white, but maybe they do. I don't know. To me, they don't stand out like that. Whoa! Now, you see that change in the weather? That was very... That took away all the immersion that was just there. That update. I guess they've got to update the weather. I just feel the transition needs to be a little bit smoother than that. That was not the best. Apparently here, equal time points. I'm going to... let's fly through the valley a bit. I'll... why not? Completely blown away with what this graphics card slash processor's capable of. It's you know, the system. When I built it myself and I upgrade bits myself bit by bit, probably I'm trying to think, when was the first part put together on this particular system? I don't think there's anything left from the original system. But, yeah. I'm trying to think, do I have anything left? I come to think of it, I don't. No. The old speakers and one old webcam, I think, is the only thing, and that's not even from inside, but, yeah. Just bit by bit updated things, and about 6 months ago decided to replace the case and the power pack, which is always one of the more boring things that you've got to do. But it was, you know, the USB plugs just weren't cutting it anymore. from the old one. It was also, although it was a large case, just certain parts of it were small in the wrong places, you know, with the new graphics cards and so on. It was, whereas this one is much more suitable for the latest stuff. Overall, it's the same size. It's just the way that they've laid out the inside. A bit more thought given to the where things got bigger and where they didn't. I'll tell you this for free. Computer is pumping out a fair little bit of heat. I forgot. You know, a small to middle sized room that's relatively well insulated, this will heat up the room no problem. No doubt an energy bill to match that, so at least while you're playing something like this. A bit of a stutter there. I gotta say, you know, if you're getting like one stutter every 10-15 minutes, I mean, for like a microsecond, I mean, that's nothing. You can live with that. Let's go visit the coast then. We've been skirting around near enough for a while. Looks like cloud base has descended in front of us there, so we'll dial that down. And those little bumps again that I was experiencing earlier, that's just really nice, the way they've done that with the terrain. But I'm going to have to shut up and put my aircon on for a bit, guys. I'll say what really matters, but it's getting a little bit too warm in here for me.
2,500.
So this is sort of the height I always felt where Flight Sim 2020, it's like you can descend down to this height and it looks really good, sort of 2.5-3,000 feet above the ground, but any lower and it starts to fall apart. And so if possible, I don't want to descend any lower. Just absolutely mind-blowing. I'm not sure how many people flying today on these sort of sims were around back when Microsoft Flight Sim was it was this little square area that you had, and around two sides of the square was a few triangles, not 3D, they were 2D triangles. And in the middle of the square was this grid, just a solid green colour with these black lines as a square grid. And then there was, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 airports, but they were just grey rectangles. No taxiway. I'm trying to recall, was there even a centre line? But if there was, it was just a single white pixelled dotted line, and that was it, and everything else was your imagination. And that's where I came from, playing flight sim in that, and I'm 40 next year, so that was it was over 30 years ago. I think I was 7 or 8 years old when my parents had a computer with that on it. I wish I could remember which. I wish I still had the computer, or rather they did, but like everything, you know, when it's old and junk and you chuck it away, and certainly I had no idea that 30 years time I'd be looking back and wish I kept it. No keyboard or anything. No, sorry, no joystick. It was just a keyboard and mouse, but I would just use the keyboard. Right, well, I feel like we can climb a little bit. Let's put 5 knots on. And we'll do a low fly by Blackpool, which is coming up. Hopefully we'll see the tower on the left. In fact, I believe it's this point here. In fact, yeah, we're coming up to it here, so scratch that. Let's come back down to 3,000. Just in time to see the sunset. Came here with my better half, what, 3-4 years ago. Went up the tower, there's that thick piece of glass. I went there with my granddad when I was much younger, and I don't recall there being that thick piece of glass back then. But basically you can climb up to the top of this tower, and there's this thick piece of glass that forms part of the floor, so you can literally walk over it. If you don't have to, it's optional, and some people did, some didn't, let me tell you that. My girlfriend didn't, but I did. And so it's kind of weird standing up at what you look down is clearly, you know, a long enough way that no doubt about it, it's all over, and you just stood on this piece of glass. Now your mind's playing all sorts of tricks, even though consciously you know, oh, it's a strong piece of glass. But every instinct that your body has is telling you to get off it. Yeah, so here we are, Blackpool. See if we can see the tower there. Or anything at all. You can see some of the scenery loading in as we get very close to it. Not a fan of that. Again, it could just be that I'm playing prime time, and that was I playing later on or earlier, it would load the scenery in a little bit more, because it is turned all the way up. There's Blackpool Tower. That's what I was on about. So yeah, climbing up that. If I remember right, this building here was where the trams come from and go to on a night. Blackpool Airport. Yeah, got some weird sort of stuttering effect there for the first time. That water looking absolutely incredible. You can see though here there is some a repetitive pattern to it. I didn't notice that until flying in 4K, but there, if you zoom in, there's definitely a pattern to the waves that are repeating themselves. Let's bring it left 15. Yeah, now I will say when you zoom in, while the scenery looked really good, you can see some of the buildings on the nearby area. Well, maybe there's just not as dense area, I'm not sure. Yeah, it seems to be that as we get closer they're not popping in, so it could just be somewhere larger than others there. Again, just saying what I see. Certainly the very precise bump mapping is does wait until you're very close before loading in, like literally just, what's that, like 3 or 4 miles, if that. And I don't normally see it that close. I don't know if that's to do with the Sobo servers. I mean, there's probably loads of people doing a similar thing. I'm not sure sort of how much they're capable of doing. Got this old World War II style airport there, typical A-frame. So we're approaching Liverpool here. It's always a little joke when I was younger, why does the Mersey run through Liverpool? There's been the River Mersey here. The answer was so it didn't get mugged. It was a notoriously rough city. Not sure if it's still as bad as it was. I mean, certainly a lot's changed over the last 10-15 years. You know, in terms of nightlife, certainly in the smaller towns in the UK is a fraction of what it was. I'm not sure if that applies to the larger towns. I'm sure they've still got more going on, but versus what it used to be, I don't know. Being in a smaller town, well, say small, it's about an average sized town, I will say that nightlife is a fraction of what it was, unless it's special occasions, New Year's, that kind of thing. People still pull out the stops for that, but
2,500.
As far as just every weekend goes, it's a fraction of what it was. Let's pull the stop up to 4. And continuing down the western coast of the UK, and we'll be approaching Wales shortly if we move this up here. Zoom in a little bit. In fact, I'll switch that back over to the map. That's a little friendlier. So there was Liverpool that we was just on about, the River Mersey here. Wales there, off over to our right hand side. So if we zoom in and just about make out some of the hills. Gotta say, Wales, not somewhere that I've spent a great deal of time. I think I've been there once or twice, but certainly no more. I would like to see, I've forgotten what it's called now, but off one of the ends of Wales is a weird layout of naturally formed stones, or supposedly natural. Looks like a whole bunch of hexagons coming out the water down one of the coastlines. Rocks in the shape of hexagons, like perfectly formed. I would like to see that. Chasing the sunset now. I could even make use of the sunblind for this aspect of the flight, but just kind of ruin it a little bit. So let's get rid of it again. just blown away by how smooth this is. I just don't got the words. Don't have the words. Surprised as well. Like, surprised. I shouldn't say surprised, but well, it is the word, and yeah, I'm going to say it. I'm surprised of the stability of the whole thing. Like, we've had a couple of micro stutters about 15 or 20 minutes apart, and that's been it. Honestly, if the whole thing crashed and hung up and big error, crashed to desktop, or worse, my system hung up or anything like that, like, I wouldn't have been surprised. I would not have been surprised, but it's been none of that. Tell you what, this line here, I don't know if you can see it on screen, there's like a little line. It would be completely horizontal if we were wings level, and it appears often in mountainous terrain, and it's only ever at certain circumstances, but it's something that I've noticed has haunted this game for as long as I remember. I think right from the off, but yeah, just wanted to point that out because you can see it there, especially when I'm zooming in. It's very noticeable there, just below the peaks. It's a minor thing, but it's I don't know why it's there, and it's been there the whole time. I think this game, unfortunately, sums society up, unfortunately. You can decode that and pull it apart any way you like. But there'll be some people that know what I'm on about and some that won't have a clue, and you know, that doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. Just wow. Little smear marks and scratches around the engine as well. It's just wow. incredible. Let's get rid of those wing lights a little to try to know. We certainly don't need the anti-ice anymore. We'll clear that out. And yeah, daylight definitely starting to fade down below. This is the time of day. If you're on the ground, you're already in the shade. You've seen the last of the sun. But if you look up and a plane like this goes over, you just see this bright twinkling as it's reflecting the sunlight down that you're not going to see until the next day.
Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead.
Thank you.
Terrain ahead.
We'll deal with that.
Terrain ahead.
All right.
Terrain ahead.
All right.
Pull up.
We're pulling up.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Why we're still... We are. Tell you what, let's expedite the
Terrain
climb.
ahead. Pull up.
Still. There we go. At least you see it in games like this. You've got the, you've got the faith that that could have been the thickest of fog, and providing the pilot doesn't ignore what he's told. Not only were we going to miss it anyway, but you saw there how much margin of error it gave. Let me see if we can see this from passenger's perspective. Almost lifelike. Perhaps a little bit oversaturated, but almost there. Almost. The different layers for the different hills does look a bit watercolor-ish, painting-like, but again, almost there. Show me any game that looks better right now, though. There isn't one. Let's say DCS looks pretty good in many aspects, and certainly if you crank that up, which I have done to see, looks amazing as well in certain areas and certain times of day, but not to this standard. I mean, just look at that. Just that is a world that's lived in. That right there. Clearly everybody's dream would be the graphics from Flight Sim with the military aspects of DCS coupled with the realism of X-Plane, and then you've got your game. Then you've got your game. Until then, all three sims are going to serve their function. That's why every time somebody makes a video, something to the akin of, oh, this spells the end of such and such a simulator, and I just think, I don't really know what they're talking about. I mean, they may be just naive, I don't know, but what's the waypoint down there? Bumalo. I think I'm going to start making myself direct towards Heathrow now. Let's have a little look what we got. Well, we got Compton VOR there, about 100 miles away. So let's direct to. Looks like we've been avoiding our flight plan for so long. It didn't clear out, so there we go. Direct to Compton. We'll climb up a little bit. Let's go 6,000. And we'll pick up the speed a bit. close to the red line. Just wow. I was having a look just a minute ago. There's so many people doing the same thing that you know, a channel with no subscribers is clearly gonna fall off the bottom of page 100 when it comes to this kind of video. But right now, like I said, I'd be doing this anyway in my own right. Once again, one of those sudden weather changes that suddenly wipes out a ton of clouds. Let's say actually the aircon feedback not too bad. It could just be that I've got the engines running with quite a lot of airflow in the game. I'm sure if I was to mute that off, I'd sound horrific. Some may say I do anyway, but we'll leave that one there. It's again a very pinkish sunset. You know, I mean, these do occasionally happen in the UK where you got a sky like this. But a flight sim would have you believe it happens every night without fail. It certainly does not. The way that the lighting in the cockpit, I'll see if I can just move myself a little further back. Just the shadows. Let's disconnect real quick. Yeah, those absolutely incredible, the way that those shadows roll around the cockpit like that is like, I mean, I know it's like that anyway, you know, nothing to do with its graphics card, but it's just part of just how incredible this game really is. Right, there's a sort of a screenshot for me. Let's grab that. Maybe a bit too far now. Let's go the other way. That's more like it. Maybe a bit higher up, maybe there. Oh, a little bit of turbulence there. And that damn autopilot. I just think that alert is a little bit too persistent. You do get one, but I'm sure it sort of cancels after 2 or 3 seconds. Why is precise? Let's see, have about, what, 200 feet before it starts wailing? I mean, you can cancel it out by dialing around the altitude knob, but regardless. Let's just dial it out of the way so we don't gotta hear it for a while. Just wow. Wow. By the way, guys, anybody that watching this either now or in the future, I give you full permission to use any part of this video in any way, shape or form that you like. Whether you want to grab video from it, stills from it, or anything else, don't got to worry about any sort of copyright strike, and you can include this piece of footage if you fear that I may go back on my words, because I'm giving you permission here and now. So yeah, for this specific video, I best just put some information to that. Sunday the 23rd of October that went out live streaming 4K to do with the RTX4090 here on the Games with Brains YouTube channel. Any and all, you can use this for anything. You don't got to give me any attribution or none of that BS. Again, you know, we're just here to see what this game can do and what it's capable of with the graphics card. You know, I don't pretend in any way that, no, this is mine. It's ours. It's you know, we're sharing it, aren't we? Different for people who are monetized and trying to make a living off what they do. But this particular channel of mine is not monetized. It's just for fun. Just wow, with that scenery. It's obviously getting a little dingy, but regardless, we're approaching Compton. Yeah, so the big test, how does it look once we get near London? We're certainly rapidly approaching, crossing through Herefordshire, approaching Gloucestershire, and some fantastic clouds. Let's hope that we can get up there and surf a little bit, because it looks like when we drop back down, so it's going to be pretty much dark. Bit of a wind shift there. Keep the climb going a bit just so we don't hear that altitude alert wailing the whole time. Once again, it's nice as it looks, and it does look fantastic. Worthy of a painting, but it's not quite realistic. Little too much. Alright. Getting near to our cruise of 10. I just wanted to poke through the clouds. Quite deceptive how low the tops were from back there. See if we can climb above without, you know, getting too much higher. Again, we are approaching London here. Looks like I'm going to lose all my speed in trying to get to the top. The scale of these clouds is very, very deceptive. I mean, to me, those clouds seem to be 4,000 or 5,000 feet above where we were. Turns out, here we are 10,000 feet higher, and looking out, they still seem to be 4,000 or 5,000 feet above. So, not entirely sure how long that's going to go on for, but we're falling through green dot speed, which is never a good thing. Not that it's dangerous, but it's you're losing your best glide at that time, which is also your best climb. Whoa, there we go, another one of those micro pauses. So that's been the third one. And how long's the stream been going? Ages, right? Feels like it. 1 hour 42, I can't believe that. Okay, 1 hour 42 and we've had 3 micro stutters. That's more than acceptable, I think. A little nerve-wracking when it happens because it sounds a little bit like it's going to crash. Let's set ourselves up with an approach. We'll choose 9 left. Actually, no. The reason I'm going to ignore that is I want to come down through the city. So if we go with 7 left, it'll give us the excuse to come through the city. I'm not going to have a star. We'll come via what options we got. Guess BNN may be suitable. We'll see. Tempt that in. So you can see here, Heathrow very close. We'll see. Let's reduce that a little bit now. 320 getting in close. Let's dial that back to 4,000. So at least the autopilot has some clue of what we're trying to do. I may lighten it up a little bit. We'll see. What I may do, well, I'll tell you what, we'll see it in its natural state, and if it gets a little bit too dark, and we've already seen it dark for a bit, I'll lighten it up. But certainly nearing the final 10 to 15 minutes of the stream. Descending on down then, let's see what we see. Open descent. I'll raise the speed a little bit so we get down there a little quicker. May drop that down to 3. Looks like some of these clouds may be quite low. Once we're down there, I'll slow down and put the externals on. And with regards to Heathrow, let's have a little look. What did I put in? 27 left on the ILS. Seven left. We'll star that. Set that to night mode. So my plan, City of London's going to be here. We'll manually swing ourselves round through and we'll go from there. Let's have a little look at the weather because our aircraft wants to know. So 27 left. Let's refresh the meter there. Right, 130 at 6. Sounds like we've got some rain and we're in the soup again. Let's get the landing lights on, turn off. Nose light's going to be my clear to land. We'll put the wing lights on as well. Seat the cabin crew. And nice as that glow is, we'll dim it down somewhat. Make sure everything else is turned up. It's that sort of awkward time of day where some of the lighting seems a little bright and some of it a little dark.
2,500.
Problem is not unique to Flight Sim, isn't that? Sort of the changeover between night and day. Some games, especially the more detailed ones, for whatever reason, struggling with that. Right, so we've got a rad out here. Let's get our performance numbers in. For the first time in hours, I feel like I'm trying to do something somewhat by the book. Let's have a little look. Right, so I'm just going to plug in meter on my phone rather than keep trying to move the camera around. I could use shortcuts, but it doesn't matter. So here we go. So 130 at 6. QNH is 0996. Temperatures are 13 dew point 12. That would explain the rain. 130 at 6. And the minimums, where it's the standard ILS, is going to be 200. Alright, those numbers are in. And there we go, finally seeing something again. Let's drop the range back, that's how close we are. Heathrow just 30 miles away. Granted, we're very low due to the weather. I'm just going to set this to the same QNH that we've got. And let's go down to 2.5 purely because of the clouds here. Nice lighting now that we're through the sunset, or the most of it again. Got some of the lights on as dim as they'll go. Just make it nice and homely. Panel backlighting is on as bright as it'll go. Looks like it's still got a little ways it could go. These screens have been turned down a little bit. I think we can turn them down a little more. They even dim down. Seems like they do a bit eventually, but you got to press it a lot of times. I'm kind of surprised how many times you got to press that to get it to dim. Get the autopilot ones. Was it not this one? No. Want that on full. It's this one then. There we go. That's more like it. That's the look I was shooting for. Turn this one down a bit if I can remember where there it is. Have it on as dim as that one will go as well without being off. Again, these aircraft you see, real world aircraft, not AI, not other players, just real world only. So if they're on here, they're there in real life. Another little stutter there as we're entering into the city, or Greater London. Got some rain showers here. Looks like we'll be skirting off the edge. But nice to see Fenix A320 implement decent weather radar again. I mean, things were a little batshit, let's be honest, with weather radar in 2020. I can see why Fenix selected not to use it and would rather have nothing than something that looks ridiculous. So we'll stick with the terrain radar for now. Very nice. And the one thing that is missing, and this isn't just flight sim, I've noticed this in every aircraft. I'm just going to unplug this so that got a bit of a view. Is when you're flying at night and you look out the window like this is generally what you'll see, but what you'll also see is, and it happens a lot more in busier areas like this, you'll randomly see like 1 or 2 lights that are far brighter than the others that may or may not be more or less in your direction, and you don't seem to get that in any of these games, not that I've noticed. Not necessarily like a searchlight into the sky, but leaning that kind of way versus just your ordinary street lamps and whatnot. And I just think, like, again, it doesn't need to be exactly in the right place, but if they just randomly threw in one of these little lights occasionally, because you do see it. I love the landing light reflecting in the fog there. That's very nice. Should also get the strobe lights flashing in the fog as well. I'm not sure why they're not doing. I've certainly got them on. Landing lights on there. Got the wing lights on as well. Weird that you got to be zoomed in a certain distance to see it. Yeah, this effect of the lights doubling when you zoom in, and yeah, that's not great, is it? But I love that landing light effect. That looks absolutely brilliant, does that? I really like that. Into the fog. Clearly you're not going to see that normally. It's only when it's foggy. Alright, let's zoom in again. And I could just, you know, direct to and follow this round. But again, I'm wanting to see the City of London at night. And this may take me, I'll tell you what. Let's begin tracking it. We can always break off if it takes us further on. I'm no expert Heathrow. Couldn't tell you how close to the city this particular arrival is going to take us. All that I know is you need to be landing westerly to have any chance of seeing the city at all. Alright, that'll do for a start. Going to ignore the altitude restrictions. We've got altimeters local. We've got the radar on. We've got terrain overlaid here. If it becomes a threat, do want to see the city. I feel like we're skirting the bottom of the clouds, so I may just drop down a couple of 100 feet And we'll start reducing the speed as well. Let's go for 230. I will keep descending. I mean, again, I don't want to just fake the weather and all of that. I mean, may have to. Looking pretty dingy. Tell you what, I am going to have to see if I hope I can change the weather on the fly. Sometimes when you've got, I can't without reloading the. Oh, I can. All right, you didn't used to be able to do that on the fly. It's either one or the other. I do want a few clouds, but if I raise them up, just doing that. There we go. That's more like it. Got real time on. Right, I feel like I can climb to a better height now, so we'll go up to 4. Probably lost all my pressure settings as well, but never mind. In fact, that's just probably kind of important that they're right. Let's have a look what we got. 2992. So standard then. See the low pressure that was actually taking place there in the UK. Oh, come on, what am I doing? Come on. There we go. Yes, so here we go. I mean, one of the most detailed areas in the world. Town centre. London. I mean, clearly it's a city, but you know, even when you're in a city, you say, oh, I'm going into town. And these again, real world aircraft out the window. Just try and get myself inside the window. So here we got the Thames. Yeah, so turning on to final a little bit earlier than I would like. See the aircraft stacking up here for real, so let's pull the plug there and vector ourselves on. Drop down to 3.5 just to ensure that we deconflict from these guys here that are clearly establishing themselves for 2-7 left or right. And we'll do a little tour south side of the city. We'll double back round. Again, absolutely incredible. Everything turned up to ultra. 4K 60 frames streaming it, just absolutely mind blown. If it wasn't going to work well before, well, we would have already seen it, but the fact that it's still working well in the city is insane. Granted, it is night time. May adjust that on our way round. I mean, we've seen it for a little bit night time. I'll tell you what, we'll continue circling on round here to the left, which will be trending to the east side of London. We'll cut back through the Thames and I'll set it to daylight when we do that. We'll hand fly it down the Thames. Let's up the speed a little bit. Break a couple of rules, but you know, who's watching, right? No one. Figuratively, that's more or less literally. It's only be 1 or 2 people watching at the minute, but that's fine. Again, don't really care at all about the views. It's be doing this anyway. I mean, it's, you know, people. There's other people doing the same thing who are far bigger, and they're getting to see the people that they like to see doing the same thing. And it's certainly a sight to see. I'll have to go back to doing a few more videos for my channel. I do enjoy doing them. It's just they take a lot of work, and you've got to want to do the video. All right, let's change the time then. See if we can do that without quitting as well. Real time now. For whatever reason, does that work? Oh, we can. Fantastic. It used to be if these were locked in, you had to reload. You know, that looks gorgeous. I'm just going to grab a screenshot there, and then we'll change the time further, because that looks like, wow. I can't decide, do I want the city or the sky there? Well, let's get the, let's try and get both. Screenshot. A bit far away from the city centre, but it's, doesn't matter. Try and get rid of the frame as much as possible. There we go. Just beautiful. Oh, don't get the window in like that. There we go. Incredible. Alright, let's go back up front then, and nice that it is. Let's do away with the sunset. And there we go, daylight hours. And here's the Thames that we're going to hand fly it down, brighten these screens back up again now. Oh, we got a speed limit exceeded warning there, that's fine. I'm guessing these days that's automatically sent up to headquarters. I don't know that, but you know, through the data link and all, for the pilot to have to explain away later on. I don't know that, I'm just assuming that. There's a lot of stuff that gets sent back. Alright, well, let's set ourselves up for final then, and I will hand fly it on in. Just my side will do. Where's it gone? Just want the 269. I knew it wasn't 270. Couldn't remember, was it 269 or 271? It's 269. But again, we'll hand fly it down here, and then that's going to be it from me. So I will get rid of that because we don't need it now. LS is on. A massive ship full of containers wedged sideways across the Thames. What on earth that is about, I don't know. Alright. Autopilot off. Let's wedge the camera up into the cockpit windows a little bit. It's usually on the first officer's side, I guess, because he's all the younger, more eager of the two, typically speaking, that wants to record everything. Captain's like, ugh, suppose so if you must. Alright, here we go. I mean, outside. Oh, not that again. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to have to just wind that ways out the way to an altitude we're not going to, just so I don't get that again. Sorry about that. I just can't live with that alert that doesn't ever stop. So you can see the city there up front.
2,500.
The main building's starting to come into view. I feel that on this, the main showstopper for me here is some of these clouds are not looking. Let me see if one of the other presets looks a little better. I'm still not convinced. I'll tell you what, we'll roll with these guys for now. It's clear enough. That's acceptable. I'll roll with it. Not looking as good as they did with live weather, but the visibility in the London was so bad that live weather was a no-go anyways. I'm going to turn my track IR off because camera on the dash is going to be fixed. So I'll just move ourselves into a suitable position. I think right about there, and then I'll disable it. There we go. Alright, so hand flying it through. I'll shut up, enjoy it. I guess, you know, you could pre-cache the area and it would look even better, but we're downloading all of this scenery on the fly. Certainly coming through a lot slower at peak times here. Tell you what, this model of this Millennium Dome looks brilliant, man. I've seen it close up before. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Little too much in shade for my liking. That's down to the cloud setup. I am just, and I keep messing with this. Last time, promise, just too much shade for me. There we go. Let's leave it there. That's more like it.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Building ahead, more like.
Terrain ahead. Pull up. Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Frame rates for the first time don't feel entirely smooth. Like, they're still way above 30, but to me, these are not 60 no more. These are still very playable as long as you don't spin your head around too fast or anything like that, but it's certainly not locked in at 60. I'm not sure how it comes across in the stream, but from my point of view, everything has been pretty much imperceptibly smooth the entire time, aside from, for some strange reason, being on the ground at Edinburgh, even though there's not much, sorry, not Edinburgh, Inverness, even though there wasn't a great deal going on there, so I'm not entirely sure why the frame rate, again, it's a weird thing, it's not frame rate generally, it's when you're turning your head side to side. If you use the keys, it's really smooth. I'm not sure why there should be a difference, but there is. I guess the trick
Terrain
is,
ahead.
if you're using track
Terrain
AR,
ahead. Pull up.
move your head very slowly. So there's Tower Bridge.
Terrain ahead.
Some people
Pull up.
mistakenly call London Bridge, because it's the one that you see
Terrain ahead.
on all the
Pull
pictures.
up.
There's the Shard.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
And yeah, there's Houses
Terrain
of Parliament
ahead.
to the right.
Pull up.
It's all big wigs
Terrain
sit
ahead.
and
Pull
shout,
up.
order, order. Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Terrain ahead.
Terrain
Pull up.
ahead.
All right. Too many chip whizzes. Let's see if we get a TCAS caution here, because we're getting a little close to this aircraft. It does seem to wait a little long, in my opinion, before giving you the caution. I don't know why. I mean, we're relatively close to this aircraft in front of us, and we do got a solid contact on the TCAS with about 3 different aircraft, so it's just drawing our attention to the fact there is an aircraft there, but it's not giving us any warnings yet. And our runway is going to be 27 left, so we're going to land on, well, not on top of this aircraft, but we'll, in terms of air traffic control, we're landing on top of this aircraft that is really coming into land right now. Don't know who he is or where he's from, but virtually speaking, we're right behind him, and you can see he's locked into this ILS. As soon as we're locked into ILS, he's going to be between us and the threshold. And there you see it. I'm just going to go manual with regards to the throttle. Done that to fly the Airbus a little bit once in a while. So automated. Yeah, so this guy is clearly configuring and slowing down.
Traffic.
There we go, we've got our first TCAS warning. He's in yellow. I'm surprised that's not red. We're right behind him, but maybe it's taken into account. I mean, now what? There we go, we've got our advisory. It's telling us to descend. So we'll descend.
Think rate.
We're complying with the
Think rate.
advisory.
Think rate.
What
Think
about
rate.
now? Can we no longer?
Think rate.
Too low. Terrain.
Surely we're clear of conflict.
Too low. Terrain.
There we go.
Too low.
Clear of
Terrain.
conflict.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
Fear not. We got it. We got it. There we go.
above.
It's all good.
Minimum.
Continue.
.30, 20, retard.
Idle reverse. Looks like he was spun off on our account. I don't know what Flight Sim does now, because that was a real aircraft, but at this point he is not real. Flight Sim physics, man. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like it, the way it steered down that taxiway at the speed it was going, like it was nothing. It's bizarre behavior, this game at times. But graphics wise, nothing to be said, right? Alright, that's going to be it from me. And wow. Absolutely wow. Take care, and maybe see you again, maybe you won't. Until next time.